Welcome to the podcast committed to delivering you truth, taking a stand, and shining a spotlight on world changers in this generation. I'm your host, Naomi Van Wyk, and this is Trusted Voice. Today, I have with me Nate Lewis from The Innocent. Thank you so much for coming on today. You have been, changing the world, it sounds like. 20 years, and you've traveled to 40 different countries, if I understand correctly, or maybe more.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot more than I've seen probably. Seen some things that have probably broke your heart. And just tell us a little bit about what got you into the work that you do. Say at The Innocent, you're saving innocent children.
Yeah. Well, I struggle with the word how I got into it. I think that God designed a journey for me in my life that aligned with a purpose later, that started with pain. As a young child, I was brutally abused and then sexually abused, right after I turned 12 years old. And then I think to follow up with that, I was kidnapped, taken at gunpoint. We were talking a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So having these experiences and then facing, becoming a victim, facing the perpetrators and having to go through court and the whole judicial system and all that, which I buried. Most of that I buried in my life and tried to just move past it, right, and never bring it up. And I find myself 20, 30 years later doing this line of work. And when I see these things and experience these things, there was a fire inside of me and a desire and a passion, and not putting it together and then realizing one day, like, wow, the pain that I had to go through or that I went through created a purpose for me.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's the fire, knowing the hurt and things that I had to go through personally, it only pushes me further to go to protect the innocence of the children. Experiencing my experience, and I'm not going to go into too many details, but I was in a different time back then, and it was a different era of, my parents wouldn't let us watch people kiss on TV, and we didn't have talks about sex and things like that and access to it. And so when that was my first experience, was unknown world to me, so it was like an immediate innocence is what wasn't even like a slow roll.
Your innocence was stolen from you instantly.
Yeah, and then the trauma and the certain things, even with like being taken at gunpoint and being kidnapped, like, you're going through PTSD. I went through it for probably 10 years, but severe in the beginning, but it carried on for a long period of time. And even my life changed, for a long period of time. But that's how I got in.
Well, that gave you the heart, the passion for it.
Yeah, I mean, really what got me into this line of work was the Sound of Freedom. Jim Caviezel, friend of mine, who I've worked with for a long time. That was my introduction into the human trafficking, anti-trafficking space. And then going and working for an organization, doing the work internationally and going in and rescuing and doing that thing. And then working as an executive for that company and seeing firsthand some of the children and some of the experiences and going on some operations and just understanding it day in, day out, really. It was all I did. And
this was in another country. You started
all different countries.
All different countries.
And it was really the people who were like, well, what are you doing here in America? And it was really a great question. And then it was my law enforcement friends and just understanding like, where was the gaps?
Right.
It was like, well, we just need to find an avenue where the locals can truly put together a fundraiser and fund their local law enforcement to get them the training and equipment that they need to go out and be proactive in these investigations instead of reacting to a 911 call. Like, how do you get out there in these areas and go out and prevent sex crimes from happening to children?
Right. Well, because it's happening right here, right?
Oh, it's happening everywhere.
Okay, so speak on that. I mean, you were in other countries, fighting the sex trafficking, and then people in America said, why aren't you doing something here? Is that I'm understanding you correctly, right?
Yeah.
And so what are some, stats as far as where is it happening in the U.S. and how often is it happening and how many children is this happening to?
Well, I'll just give you some real stats. And I think it's important to focus on sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, and sex trafficking, which is the three areas that we are focused on. Good. So 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys will be sexually abused before they turn 18. That's the current statistic. I think when you look at in 10 years from now, things could change unless we really do something about it.
1 in 3 and 1 in 5.
Yes.
Sexually abused.
Sexually abused. So this has been going on for a very long time. There's 43 million adults who are survivors of child sexual abuse living in the United States. So, and these statistics are all over the internet. You can just type them in and find all those sources. But I think people forget about how prominent this is.
Right.
You know, and you know, we have statistics where we go into towns, small towns, we did it locally. You know, we pose as children online and do certain things and go into certain areas. And, you know, within 10 minutes, we had 4 people reaching out to us. Within 24 hours, I think it was 61. And within a week, we had 250 unique IDs, identifying phone numbers. So it's happening everywhere. There's internet. And how it's happening is children are, you know, it's so different nowadays. Before it was like, be careful on the playground and don't leave your kids alone. Right. But people aren't going out in public with all the cameras that are on every corner. Right. They're online, they're hiding their identity, they're trying to be safe and trying not to be identified. But children, there's 30, what is it? I think it's like 37 million teenagers on social media in the United States. That's a lot of children. So where would you go?
Is that like under 12 or
under the age of 18?
Under the age of 18. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how many teenagers under the age of 18. Just teenagers.
Wow.
So under 13, there's probably
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in children, you know they're online on social medias. That's how you're going to access them.
Right.
And they're actually really clever. Their manipulation strategies and just the emotional connections that they're building. Sometimes it's just as an adult. Sometimes they're pretending to be children.
Wow.
And then they're using that to kind of groom them, manipulate them. They're really just listening to them. They target and identify more vulnerable individuals, and they'll go and access them through their social media usually. Yeah.
So it's pretty easy for them to get access. Like how easy is it? Because some parents probably watching have no idea how accessible predators are to their children.
Oh, I mean, it's extremely easy. If your child has an open public, you know, social media account, anyone can access them. They can just follow them. They don't have to be friends with them.
Right.
Right. There are certain apps where you actually have to be a friend to see their content, or you can block it so that no one can see it, or who's allowed to see it and share your content. But if it's open to the public, that means the world has access to your child.
Right, right.
Like anyone, all the time. And so it's easy. It's easy. And here's the thing is there's a lot of parents who are proud of their children. And it's not an issue to be proud of your child at all. It's the parents also who, it's not the child's accounts that are always the ones that need to be locked down. The parents are sharing a lot of their photos of 10-year-old birthday parties by the swimming pool, and those predators, I know it seems weird to most people that well, why would anybody want to take pictures of my 10-year-old daughter and her friends and their bikinis? These guys are sick.
Yeah.
You got to understand their way of thinking. Like, to them, that is gold, right? And so they'll just go to an influencer who has 6 million followers, and they're all followed by women mostly, and they just go into their accounts, it's a honeypot. Like, they just go through them and find the ones who have open accounts, and then they just have all the proud moms showing off their kids.
And so then what do they do? What's the next step?
They can just save those photos, sell those photos, use those photos to build accounts to now go into your son and be like, hey, I'm Christina. This is me. These are my photos.
And
do you love my account?
They're posing
to
be somebody else.
Now what will happen is boys will think that it is this girl, this 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and start talking and giving them attention. He thinks she's cute. They're sending pictures. She's now asking to send photos. They're friending all the boys' friends and parents and siblings and all whoever else at school. And then at some point they actually reveal their real identity and say, look, I'm not Christina. I have all these photos, and I'm sending them back to you to prove to you that I have these photos of you that you've sent me. And if you don't transfer me $10,000 in the next 24 hours, I'm going to expose this. And they do expose it. And unfortunately, we see lots of cases now where these kids don't know how to handle that, and they just end up committing suicide.
I was going to say, I just recently read an article. In fact, it seems like every week I read an article.
I know.
Because of of that exact situation.
Yep.
They can't handle it, and so they commit suicide.
Yep.
So this is so tragic.
Yeah.
And so you have these 3 different areas. Which one do you focus on most, or which one is more critical? I mean, because those are all huge categories and areas, and they all sort of interlap and intertwine.
Well, they all fall under one thing, maybe 2, but one, we have to be proactive. So prevention, right? And then above that one, even this is our mission, is to protect and preserve the innocence of children. So everything that we do falls under that. How do you protect and preserve that innocence?
Right.
You know, that thing in a child that you lose at some point slowly, hopefully. You don't just lose it overnight. But how do you preserve that?
Right.
And so that's the most important thing. So how do you hit it from each angle? Is one more important than the other? I think that protecting the innocence of children is important no matter how you do it and which avenue you go. If you can protect one child, and I've talked to many adults and survivors who, if they said, man, if you could have just protected me, it would have changed my life.
Right. And they're probably adults and never got healed from that trauma.
Oh,
They're still walking around with those wounds, and it's affected their whole life.
For sure. No, there's definitely people who can work through it quicker and get through it and move on. But a lot of times, here's what can happen. Now, I say can. You can either become somebody who continues that abuse and spreads that abuse within your own siblings, friends, cousins, groups, and then maybe for years on and abuse people. Or you can also find a way to turn that pain into power.
Purpose.
Right?
Like you
purpose,
did.
And go out. And we see that often. You know, people are like, look, I don't want this to happen to somebody else. You know, how do we do something about this? Because I don't want it.
They want to fight it.
Yeah. And so what angle? Prevention. And so we're attacking all these angles in prevention. So how do you get out into the network pretending to be someone? We can pretend to be all types of people. We can pretend to be a parent selling a child themselves, or a person looking for a child and hooking up. We can pretend to be a sex worker. There's all kinds of things.
So you pretend to do this in order to get them.
You're undercover, like a drug undercover agent, but you're doing it all online. Everything's online. That's so important about the education and the training is all the evidence and all this stuff is so new. Everything's digital, right? Everything. You have to preserve evidence. There's software and apps that make it super effective and efficient. There's so many police officers that want to do this work, but it's so tedious if you don't have technology that changes the game, right? And there's not a lot of training out there. And so I think you have to... The easy one, let me try to answer your question.
Okay.
The easy one for us is go after the buyers. We know that's super easy. You can do it all day. And if you cut off the buyers, there's really no demand for the trafficking.
It's like follow the money.
Yeah, well, yeah. And that, but it's also very easy and it's very prominent. And I mean, if you blow that case, you have 25 more cases lined up, you know, messaging you. So it gives them repetition before you get into the organized crime section of this, where there's a lot more involved when somebody shows up with an actual human. A live victim shows up because you're paying someone to bring them.
Right.
Not only are you arresting someone and dealing with that and infiltrating that network and then pulling all the evidence off their phones and seeing the spider web that is created, but you have a human being. That is a whole nother complex thing. And that's part of the incredible training that needs to happen more with law enforcement, because they do so well at interrogating criminals, put them into a room and then get as much information out of them as possible, question. Do you like to be questioned?
No.
About the most horrific things that happen to you in your life? No. And you start thinking that they're questioning you, like questioning that it's real.
Right.
And then reality is most of the time they've been trained to not trust law enforcement, or law enforcement's part of it, or whatever it may be.
Well, law enforcement can be part of it sometimes,
absolutely.
right? I mean, Homeland Security is probably...
Oh, yeah. I know some buddies of mine, they arrested a federal agent in Washington State. He's a federal agent.
So that's hard then. Who do you trust?
Well, that's right. And when you go to them, you don't feel like you can trust them. They haven't built the trust with you. Right. And the other thing is, like, part of with cops is like, you need to tell them, like, I know you got drugs on you. I know what you're doing is illegal, but you're not in trouble and you won't be. Right? Like, because that releases a huge amount of weight and stress off of them. But then you actually can't arrest them for those things. Because you have to, a 15-year-old doesn't choose to be a prostitute.
Right.
That's the word that used to be used, you know, pimps, prostitutes.
Right.
Traffickers, and being trafficked is now some
modern day
weird
words.
reason that people think it's a fad word but that's just what people don't understand. Prostitution has been happening for thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the same thing. It's just now with children, but you're now dealing with a child's brain that has been manipulated, to see the world completely different and see things. I have to give you something and I never get anything in return. Constantly. So why am I giving you more things? You want more from me, just like everybody else has wanted, and you're a male, which I don't trust, first and foremost, usually. And so if they can approach it completely different, it's a game changer for that individual.
Right.
So we start there. We start with the buyers. We also identify online behaviors. We know there's cyber tips that can come through. You're watching a digital addiction with the dopamines of these predators, and you're watching them online. Eventually, that digital can become a hands-on addiction, so they find a way to pay for it, and then eventually it becomes too expensive, and they skip the pain, and they find somebody in the wrong place at the wrong time. So watching those patterns and those behaviors of what they're doing online, and so it's all of it's important. All of it, but you have to be proactively doing it, not waiting for like, hey, my daughter was just abused.
Right.
It's too late.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right? It's too late. It's already happened. Her innocence already gone. The wounds are already there.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about the border and immigration and, wasn't it like 300,000 children have gone missing?
Well, that's what they're reporting. That's what they're saying. Okay. Who knows? It could be a lot more than that. Yeah.
And weren't they put into homes that weren't vetted and homes that were
I don't know if they were put in homes. Some of them
put into homes to be trafficked.
Well, I don't even know if they were put into homes. Some of them. Okay, so I can only talk on experience of firsthand in relationships and people that I trust.
Right.
And so working with more internationally in the past and understanding the migration trail, because there was actually a route and trails, right, that went from not just Mexico all the way up through Central America, right?
Yeah.
And so finding those migration trails and infiltrating those and finding girls who, we had DNA that just under 100 different DNA in one child. But you're also seeing this is happening all along the way.
Can you repeat that? I don't know if the viewers caught that. I mean, this is what they need to know is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll just hold children there, and as people are passing through, they can, I don't even know if they have to pay them, but sexually abuse a child, and more than once, and more than one human coming through there. And so what I do know is this. It's so simple. Disneyland theme park has gates and an entryway to get in, right? Why? Why would we do that? It's Disneyland. America has those ports of entry because we have incredible technology.
Right.
Facial recognition, infrared, heat sensors, like all kinds of things to see where they're smuggling, trafficking, bringing in people, dogs. I mean, it's insane. So if you have all that technology to prevent crime from happening and coming into our
US
country, wouldn't we all want to keep our country safe? This is my thought. And have them come through a designated area where we can actually identify people who are on the most wanted world list. All right?
You would think.
Well, okay, so when you don't have that and people are just coming through, and this is not a political thing, this is just fact.
Common sense.
Yeah. You're allowing ISIS, it doesn't matter who, you could just name them all off, all the criminals, whoever, who have free access to get into our country. That I'm all about immigration and people bring something and do it, and so many people do it. They go through the process and they get in and they provide to our country and we provide for them, and it's a great working relationship. But when you have criminals who we have personally, my team members, and we've supported this mission, arrested a guy who was showing up and actually brought his buddy to rape this 12-year-old who was picking up from school. That's what he believed. And so they were showing up, and when they showed up and got arrested, he was illegal, probably been living here for years at that point. But
wow.
If you have a tendency to show patterns and behaviors, you're not going to come to America and stop those behaviors.
No. Why would you change?
No, you're not. Yeah. Let the great people in that want to do amazing things and bring more light into our country and not darkness.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I just don't understand. I know what's happening. I know who it's coming through. We all have. And if you haven't seen it, then you're probably ignoring it.
Well, this hits personal for me. First off, I was sexually molested when I was 12, so I can relate a little bit to your story there. God's healed me from that, and that's another story, I'm sure, for you too. But I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I have a 5.5-year-old daughter. And so, I want to do everything I can as a mom, to protect them. My husband, of course, does as well. And I'm on social media, but, I sit here and I just go, it's so accessible. It's so easy. And it can happen like that, and their innocence is gone. And, the ramifications they can never get that back again. So I'm so grateful for what you're doing and what you're able to just share with me and our viewers on, how a mom can, protect her kids. And so, I want to hear some success stories, but I want to hear more of, what we can do as parents to protect our daughters and sons. I mean, they're not, they get, abused just like yourself too. So it's not just little girls that do.
That's right.
And I think, so many parents probably aren't even aware of how easy it is, or want to stick their head in the sand and ignore it. And, like you said, I want to be that proud mom and show the pictures of my girls on their horse or whatever they're doing, but I don't want to put them at risk of them being trafficked or abused or something.
Right. Well, and I think that there's two areas of social media. One, if you're in a public facing, it's fine to have public facing for making impact and influencing people in your business or whatever you may be. But when it comes to your private life, maybe you just have a close network of private friends that are actually your friends.
Right.
Not 6,000 people you don't know, or 10,000 or 100,000. And so I think there's just a little difference there. That's one way. But look, when you ask about how parents can really, what can they do? I have to start with having a relationship with your child, how important that is. A trusting relationship where they feel safe, right? And even when children come forward, they're barely touching the waters to see like how you're going to react, right?
Yeah.
Even for law enforcement, they'll be like, oh, well, it was nothing. He just did this, and see how you react. Oh, okay, this is safe. I can give a little more, and they'll give a little more. And it's usually when the dad's like, what? I'm going to kill that. They go,
oops, I'm not going to say anything
right now, right? Creating that safe place and knowing, they're also not going to get grounded from their phone, because I appreciate your honesty and being transparent with me, because I want to know these things and I want you to come to me with these things. So thank you. Building that relationship and then having those conversations. I think that there's a lot of apps out there.
Yeah.
Bark and so many things like Canopy that can help. But here's the thing is, I would suggest don't just shut your child off completely from phones or social media, because their friends have them, number one.
Right.
And then they're going to get them at some point. So I look at it like driving a car. You don't just throw your kids keys someday and be like, good luck driving, right? They have an extensive amount of time. They have to try to be safe and aware of what's going on. What are the dangers and risks if you don't stop at this light? So it's kind of similar, I would say, is like there has to be some sort of communication and training. Now, we didn't grow up with this, so it's hard for us. And I think the next generation is going to be the real changers in all this, because we've seen it firsthand. Like people say, this has been my life for 10 years. Wow. They've navigated this. So having that real conversation with them and having relationships of what's the dangers look like. So that means parents have to be understood too. Kids have to feel safe, and they have to know that this is what's acceptable, what's not. Even for boys, this is what I always say with parents with boys. Don't allow your son to be the next generation of a predator. That means your son should never ask for a photo from a child, from another girl, right? What is that? That's what predators are doing. They're asking children and making that normal. The boys asking girls and doing that, even if they're 12 and another 12-year-old, is normalizing sending naked photos through whatever messaging.
It's like preparing them for that.
Yeah, and so why are you normalizing that? The other thing that I think is super important is all these apps now have disappearing messages. So you can set a time where all your messages will disappear. Now that has no business even existing, because you're obviously hiding something.
If it's there,
Right. And so that's a form of trust being broken from the child's side if they have to turn that on. And I think there has to be an understanding with that is like, look, legally, you as a parent, if you've paid for the phone and you pay for the bill, that's your property. You have access to it at any time. Once they take the phone, they buy a phone and now you can't do anything. So while it's under your control, there has to be rules and boundaries and guidelines set. And then just letting them know and having them talk to people who have maybe had this happen to them. You know, like it's so common now. And I think people don't understand because people don't just talk about it, but you may not be like kidnapped and put into a brothel and trafficked that way, but you can slowly become emotionally attached to someone that you think you're in love with. And then they're going to start pulling you into that trap of sending your photos. And once you start sending photos out there, or you actually go and meet up with that person, it's irreversible.
Yeah.
You know?
And what would you say is an appropriate age that you would start having these conversations with your son or daughter?
Well, so I think it depends on the conversation. So I think you have to have conversations really early on about what is safe and what is correct. So my child who is 4 and 6, they know no one touches them in a certain region that their underwear covers, right? And if somebody does, they make as much noise as possible, make a scene, fight, punch, whatever they need to do and tell a parent, because no one, not even your parents, right? You're out of diapers. There's no reason for me to even be doing that, right?
Right.
And so I think
because parents can molest their own kids.
Happens all the time, unfortunately.
It's probably like, what's the percentage?
I don't know the exact percentage of how many. But there's one locally here that I know of, unfortunately, because they have access to children. We've been a part of arrests where a guy shows up to meet an 11-year-old twice now, has an 11-year-old living at home. How about this one? We arrested, when I say we, I mean we were part of law enforcement agencies or multiple individuals supporting them in some way, shape or form, as an advisory role or technology or through training.
Okay.
And 13 arrested within 48 hours in a small town in Washington. And over half of them, the arrest teams are like SWAT guys, tacticals. They're not chatting. They don't do this. But when they arrest them, they take their phone. And they were shocked. They said the most shocking thing was how many phones had pictures of them and their 2-year-old daughter or their family on their phone, and so you just never know who this is going to be.
Wow.
But
they're the masters at deception, right? I mean,
they are. But see, here's the thing. What I wanted to say about that is all those people were showing up to a mom selling her children, 11, 9, and 7. All of them were showing up to meet a mom.
Wow.
And we have seen so many times where this does happen in the home. But going back to your question. So the
mom was involved in selling her children.
It was fake. We set it up.
You set it up.
But
right.
They have no problem showing up to meet a mom. We do bad dad ops all the time. They'll actually sit down and have a burger and be like, okay, we negotiated it. There's the hotel key, room 103. And then they go over there and get arrested. But here, I think that it's important to understand that the conversation, depending upon the conversation, has to start young.
Yeah.
Now, when you start getting, my kids don't even know what sex is, 4 and 6.
Yeah,
right.
But
young. They need to know what's not right.
They need to know nobody can touch them in those spots. Yeah.
I don't know, gym teacher, I don't care who it is, not even a doctor.
Right.
Unless I'm there with you.
Right.
And so those conversations need to start early on.
Yep.
Because we have seen so often young children, young now.
2 years old.
I know.
Younger than that even.
So you can't let your child first discover that that's normal, and then they tell them it's normal.
Right.
This is just normal.
Yeah.
So that I believe starts young. Now, I don't know if there's an exact age because every kid's different, even with getting a phone. The maturity
level.
Yeah. Right. When it comes to like talking about the birds and the bees conversation, I think you need to, but when you decide as a parent to introduce a phone, you're introducing access to the entire world, and the world now having access to your child.
Right. That's so well put.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother episode here.
Right. And so I think that I always go to the truth. You just said it earlier. We're here to talk about truth.
Yep.
What are the risks involved with having sex? What are the risks of having social media?
Right.
And I think that having those conversations, you as a parent have to understand, as soon as you have a phone, you definitely need to be having a conversation.
Yep.
But man, it's so young. I'm just blown away even by my own relationships with young adults, like young,
Right.
how early on they're being exposed to pornography now and sex.
Isn't it like the average like age 8 or something that kids are exposed to pornography?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where. It's probably
Maybe even
somewhere
younger.
11 or younger. Yeah, I think there are people who are seeing it younger. But I remember most people that I interacted with was like, oh, it was a Playboy magazine, because it was laying around the house.
Yeah.
But that's the new Playboy magazine, right?
Yeah.
Like the film. But it's on social media too. It's not that they're naked, but they're sexualizing so much stuff these days that your kids are going to see things and
it's become normal for them.
So I don't have an exact age. You need to understand your own child and probably their social dynamic, who they're involved with, probably their parents as well. The friends' parents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Being very careful about who they're hanging out with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what kind of rules and boundaries do they have with phones? Like I always tell parents, phones don't need to be behind closed doors. Just like you wouldn't leave your kids behind closed doors, just them alone. Like they don't need to have their phones back there either. Right. Just leave them on everybody puts their phones here and.
Yep.
Yeah, because you never know what they're doing. I've seen too many times the girls were like having fun, like, hey, we were texting with Jake, and then everybody likes Jake. Like, he's sending us photos. Let's send photos. I dare you. Spin the bottle, kind of a deal. That's the new thing is like, send this picture. Oh, send that picture. Send that picture.
How scandalous can the picture get?
Right. And then the one girl's going like, I feel super uncomfortable. My mom would kill me, right? If she
everybody
knew
else
that
is doing it. And it's happening in youth group. I mean, it's happening. I
all the time.
just took my 12-year-old youth group for the first time. And it's junior high, it's middle school through high school. And there's kids just on their phone. And I'm like, is she safe here? She doesn't have a phone. But like you said, you have to be.
They all have it.
So it's what are your kids' friends? Do they have phones? But okay, so tell us some success stories because that's, so exciting what, you get to rescue some kids or maybe prevent them from ever being trafficked.
Yep.
So share some hope for our viewers.
Yeah, well, so here's the cool thing is we don't probably never know the amount of children that we've prevented this from happening, which is the most important.
Which is
thing.
awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't need to know.
Yes.
What I can tell you is in the first 6 months of 2025, we were able to train 18 different law enforcement agencies in the United States.
Okay, wow.
We'll have trained over 100 officers by the end of the year. We're working with the second largest sheriff's office, the largest law enforcement department in New York State, which is the Attorney General's office. We're providing different trainings so that these officers, and they're different officers, different agencies, but there's one in particular who are arresting multiple every week. Just in a smaller community outside of a somewhat decent sized town in Texas. And they are continuing to just go after it, like just nonstop. So there's work that's being done. Here's the other cool thing. I have so many people that's like, what can I do? What can I do? Yeah. And this is part of why I loved starting this organization is really an avenue for people who feel frustrated or angry or upset that nothing's being done. And what can we do? Such a great way to get a community together. And we're going to have some education soon, but to really inform people was one, start following cases, holding people in higher ranking power positions accountable for some of the, whether it's prosecution, judges, whatever it may be. And that's a whole nother episode.
Right.
But this is an avenue for people to really get together as a community, raise a small amount of money, and then bring that equipment and training to their community. So how we do this is we'll go into a community. One agency will host it, usually 2 lead investigators, and they'll bring 2 or 3 of the top investigators from all the departments surrounding us, so 5 or 6 departments. It's a quasi task force. Right. That's not a full-time task force from the chief or the sheriff going, I got to pay for a task force.
I don't have time for this. Yeah. Right.
So you have 2 guys that run through our operation as a full live operation. So we'll usually send in a guy a week or 2 or a month before to that agency. We'll have some people get really tuned up on creating these accounts, where to go, building relationships. So then when we come back in and we have all the people there with the task force, it's the arrest task force. It's going through the entire scalable operation, everybody's roles and responsibilities, arrest sites, all that stuff. And then having those people that they've been communicating with for weeks show up, or the warrants have already been done and we're going and doing the arrest. So they're getting rehearsals, not live actually, not
Right.
rehearsals, arrests of what it looks like so that they can continue to do that work. So when we leave, the main investigators continue those cases, and once a month or quarter or weekly, whatever it is, they go, hey, let's round up the troops. It's time to go make some arrests, which is the fun part. They all want to go do that. Right? Like,
some action.
they're like, let's go. I'm ready. And so this is such a cool avenue for the communities to feel like, what, we can send our money right here in our community
Right.
to protect our children.
Our own kids.
Yeah, so that we can actually have somebody out there proactively doing this work to get them off the streets before they.
Yes.
Here's the thing. So familywatchdog.us is a
Okay.
website that people can go to and put in their address and see all the
Okay.
registered sex offenders, which is actually a small percentage of those, because most of them, 97%, haven't been caught.
Well, we've done that, and it's crazy. You're like, oh my goodness, there's one like a block away, or there's 20
Right.
in the next mile.
But again, those have been caught, convicted, and they continue to register and update everything.
Yeah.
This is really important work, and community members can see the results. We're seeing it here locally. So we trained 6 agencies locally here in our community back in January. And I think you'll see, if you watch the local stuff, like, they continue to crush it. And I love when they keep sharing it.
Right.
And now people are realizing, oh man, this really does happen here.
Right. You wouldn't think in this little town it'd be happening.
Yeah, everywhere. If there's internet, it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, look, I think that a lot of awareness, a lot of education, a lot of parents, people like you using this platform to educate people, who knows who will be prevented from this episode. Right. And so success stories come in so many different ways. Everybody wants to hear the crazy, awesome go in and rescue.
But it's the preventative is what's even better, really.
Well, and honestly, if you have to rescue someone, it's too late.
That's what I mean. It's better if there's the preventative.
Right. And we don't need to know how many we've prevented. Just keep doing it.
Right. And so are you working all over the country, and how would I get you to Santa Barbara?
Well, that's pretty easy. So one, if you have a connection with law enforcement there, we would just make a connection. Or if law enforcement's watching, they reach out to us on our website under law enforcement. They click that out, they fill out a form. It's a little bit of information with their government issued ID so we can verify their police. Then we start a conversation. We vet where they are, what they have, what kind of equipment, what kind of training they have, experience. So we can customize the training. Then we find a time where we send all my team's active duty law enforcement. I have a couple retired guys, but so it's just scheduling it and getting involved. Here's the thing: what we've never seen any department say no yet, because when you come to them and say like, "Hey, your community raised all this money for you to get free training, all this equipment to go out and protect the children in their community," one, they're not going to say no, because it frees up their training budget because we're giving them accredited hours.
You're paying for it.
Yeah, it's all paid for. We come to them; they can go home at night. So we haven't seen that. So that's another thing, is just people can go on the community link and start that for like Santa Barbara, right?
Wow.
Like
it's that easy. We can just
it's pretty easy, and you can raise. It's not that much money that you need for us to come in and do one. If you want us to do a couple different trainings, it can get a little more expensive. The first one is easy. It's like $5,000. Then if you want us to come in and build a task force, it's about another $15,000.
Okay.
And so it's not that much for an entire community.
Oh no, not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have a bunch of officers trained to go out and proactively do these investigations.
Well, I want to challenge every viewer on here to reach out to their law enforcement and to bring you in and sponsor you to protect your community and prevent our children. I mean, they're our precious, precious gift from God, and that's what we're called to do.
Absolutely.
So any closing words that you have? I am so grateful for everything you've shared and your heart and journey.
I think for me, if people can support us through prayer, honestly. And that's just through our team members. We're constantly under, I know it's spiritual attacks.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
We're camping out on the gates of hell and dealing with darkness all the time. I always say, first responders deal with a lot of trauma, whether it's a fire or a car accident. But when there's a child in the car or the house, the trauma is so much more worse. And so when you're constantly dealing with children, crimes of innocent children that didn't choose any of this, it can be very difficult on the individuals and even on their families. And so, praying for just all those involved, all the officers that are doing this work is huge. It's super important for us. So that would be a great thing. And here's the other thing. When you talk about prevention, I know this sounds weird to a lot of people, but I always say, pray for the conversion of these sick individuals, because if they could change their addictions, that could prevent.
Right. That's true healing.
Yes. And so it seems weird. And some people are like, oh, I can't pray for these sick humans. But if we could convert them from their sickness, how many children could we protect?
Right.
So many.
Yeah, so many. Well, some trauma probably caused them to become the predator.
Potentially,
sadly. Yeah. Well, Nate, thank you for risking your life for these kids and just running into the battle, not being afraid to run at the darkness and give your life to protect our precious innocent children. We will definitely be praying for you and encouraging our viewers to get involved and to pray and to take action, because we need both.
You.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for joining Trusted Voice Podcast. Remember, God has created you for a purpose and a destiny, so go live it out. I'm Naomi, and hope you join us next time.